Let's talk about row level security. This is one of the most important aspects of your app because this protects all of your data at the server level. So it doesn't allow data to come back to the client unless the correct security policies are applied to the tables. And the policies are create, read, update, delete. So who has permission to be able to do which action? And naturally, an admin should be able to do everything, but a learner or a student should only be able to read data, not create any data, and should only be able to access lessons from courses that they have purchased. So let's think this through. On my break in the admin dashboard, I just went ahead and created a new page at admin/lessons and then just cleaned up this design here so it displays nicely. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lessons in this database. Okay. And this is the one that David Jones has access to. Now, I'm currently logged in as my admin account, not David. David wouldn't have access to this particular dashboard. And at the moment, we have no row level security. And we've designed it this way because if we set row level security by default, while you're building your app, you wouldn't see any data. You would get really confused. And there's a bit of conceptual understanding to be able to grasp these security policies. But luckily, we've built in a little AI widget to help with this. So by default, all data in your app is publicly viewable. So let's think this through. So these are our tables. Now, every single table needs row level security, even if it's just to say that this data is public. Okay, we don't want to leave row level security off. It's row level security is supposed to be permissive. Again, we've designed it to be completely open while you're working on your app. Otherwise, you're not going to make much progress if you don't understand row level security. So it has to be applied to every single table. Now, chapters are basically public because we can view chapters on the course page. Courses are public. We're using courses. We need marketing. We need people to be able to buy courses before they're even a user. So courses are public, chapters are public, lessons are locked. Okay. Progress is private. Only a user should see their own progress. Purchases are private. Only a user should see their own purchases. Users are private. A user needs to see their own data. I want to show you an example of lessons, however. So if we go across to security, it says row level security enable RLS for the lessons table. Now, before we do that, let's go back to the canvas. And I'm logged in as an admin, but we have no row level security. So the admin role is meaningless in terms of protecting data at the moment because we haven't set any policies that allows an admin to get to the data. At the moment, we have no policies though. Follow along. Okay, here are the lessons. What happens now if I go to the back end, go to lessons, security, and if I click this button, enable RLS for lessons table. Okay, now the next part is security policies. I'm not going to add anything. Instead, I'm going to go back to the canvas. And when I load admin lessons, we have no lessons because I've enabled row level security, which locks down all data. Everything's protected. Now we need to provision access to data based on either role or something like a purchases table, which is a join table, which joins a user to a purchase course. Okay, so let's allow an admin to be able to basically create, read, update, delete lessons, and we should see the lessons repopulate back into this table. So I'm going to go back to lessons. First of all, I'm going to add a policy and I'm just going to use English here, okay? And we are adding examples to our documentation very soon in a dedicated row level security page. But it says describe the security rule you want to create. For instance, only allow users to see their own data. I'm going to say admin role can read lessons. I could have said this a number of different ways. Let's just see what it creates. All right, now you may not understand what this is. If I double click this, I can actually edit this myself. I don't suggest you do this unless you have experience with row level security. But basically, it says that an authenticated user with the role admin is able to read this data. All right, we've got a handy explain button here and an edit button. So it says admins can read lessons. Let me click on explain. This rule means that only users with an admin role are allowed to view any of the lessons. No one else can see lesson details. So what's important here is this auth users. This user table has a column called role. And within that, this one is set to admin. So it's this particular column that we're using to create our security policy on the lessons table so that admins can see lessons. Let's go back to the canvas and refresh the lessons page. And there we go. We've got our lessons back. Okay, but I still need create, update, and delete for an admin. Let's do that now. I'm going to create another policy. Admin role can create lessons. Now we are working right now today. It's the 9th of December. We are working on a better way to be able to manage and configure these security policies. And we are going to be allowing our Radiant agent in the Canvas chat to be able to create these as well with all of the context of your tables. Okay, so this should be getting easier. I'm going to add another policy. Admins can update lessons. And the last one, admins can delete lessons. Okay, these all look great. Now it's important to know that whenever it comes to update, okay, an update, you're always going to have two. You're going to have a filter and a validation, but the rest are always going to have one. But you'll get very used to these. They are quite similar across different tables, but it all depends on what data are you using to enable these security policies. We're using the role column in the users table to do this. Okay, this isn't how it's done all the time. We also have to deal with how a user is able to view lessons. And that is not based on a role because they can purchase any number of courses. And we're going to create another student very soon, purchase a different course, and then log in as each and make sure that they have access to the right data based on these security policies. But the fact that we enabled row level security by default means that everything is locked down. No one can access that data or do anything to that data. All right, let's go back to the canvas. And I'm going to log out of my admin account. I'm going to sign in as David. Now, if I go to David's dashboard, if I go to continue learning, then you see that no content is available, guys, because David doesn't have, we've locked down the lessons table. So because lessons are missing, we only had one lesson for this course. So now it's saying no content is available. So now we need to work out how to provision access for David. We'll do that in the next lesson. See you then.